Okay, well, welcome to those of you who have joined us for the student panel this morning. Today, our theme is innovation, and we have some questions prepared that students will answer, and Celeste and I will ask. And then we will open it for questions and answers this morning. And Celeste, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
And then I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Celeste Gutierrez. I'm the Student Leadership and Engagement Coordinator here at the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. I'm super excited to have this be a theme for today's summit. I think it's really important for us to be creative and think differently, particularly now with the whole distance learning. So I'm really excited to get to hear from all the different students about, how we can do things differently.
And I'm Audrey Sirota. I'm the Arts Coordinator for the Santa Cruz County Office of Education, and we're super excited to have our students here again today with us. And with that, Celeste, would you like to start our first question?
Our first question is for Lemmy. Lemmy, this is in regards to how school would look like once we do go back to, in-person teaching. How would the environment look like? How would school look like for you?
The environment would it would have yoga balls for fidgety students like me. It helps keep us focused. I'm actually sitting on one right now. It would not look like a traditional classroom, like all the desks facing forward. There would be clusters of desks for collaboration. The lights would be dim, but bright enough to keep us awake. There would be lots of academic art projects. There would also be an essential oil diffuser. My 3rd and 4th grade teachers had one, and it really helped put me in a good mood and ready to learn. There would be lots of books that our teacher would let us borrow to take home in case you don't have any books to read. The class would be very organized so you could find things easily. And that's what my ideal school environment would look like.
Thank you, Lemmy. I want to go into that classroom. I can smell the essential oils just from you saying it. Thank you. And the next question is for Sam. What is inside the building?
Inside the building, I guess what I would hope for is that it would be as normal as possible. Going back, I would just want to feel really comfortable and actually get in the feel that, oh, I'm back in school now. I would like to have an environment that makes me feel very motivated to learn. So also, I would also just like to feel very safe as we are going back. I would like to just be able to focus on studying and, have like the safety precautions being taken care of.
Thanks, Sam.
And this next question is for Carla. Carla, what does the environment look like?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. What does the environment look like?
My ideal school environment is like there are a lot of things that make you as a student that you can interact with. Like around my school, we have some murals from other students in the school. And I think that's already nice because I feel like a lot of schools don't really like teach into the art. So having that like creative space for students who are interested in arts being able to express themselves at school is like a really nice idea to me. So my ideal environment is a place where like people who want to express themselves and like if they get permission from the school, they can do artwork on the walls. And then I also want an environment that has like a little bit more nature. Like our school also has my school also has like a little garden. And it hasn't been well kept, but I think if we have more nature around the school, it would also help because like sometimes I feel like I'm trapped like in this like little concrete, like just concrete walls all the time. So it'd be nice to be able to see some like actual life around when I'm at school.
think we all really appreciate that. And Celeste, it looks like you have the next question too.
All right. I kept thinking of, yes, I totally agree with you, Carla. That's how I feel at work too. The next question is for Carolyn. Carolyn, what would your ideal education look like?
To me, the ideal education addresses students as whole people. Not only are they supported academically, but also mentally and emotionally. And I think that students don't just need to learn content, but they also need to learn the soft skills that'll really move them forward in the workforce or their futures. Additionally, I think in my ideal education, students would be able to pursue their more specialized interests and learn at schools where there's mutual support and respect between students and teachers, particularly with the teachers respecting students' individual goals and perspectives.
Thank you, Carolyn. I really appreciate you bringing up the concept of the whole person. Thank you. So this question's for Juliana. And Juliana, what would technology look like in this re-envisioned school?
Excuse me. In this re-envisioned school, I think that we should be using 50% of technology and like 50% with like books and paper. During quarantine, we've gained so many skills using computers. I know how to use mine like a pro. So we can't just like completely throw it away if we were to go back to school. And since we spend such an abundant amount of time looking at a screen, I think it would only be right to give our like eyes a rest and look at a book or write on paper. So I would want it to be like 50-50.
Thank you.
And in this school that we're reimagining, how would this question we're going to ask Lemmy first. Lemmy, in your ideal school, how would students be arranged? By age, by interest, or how would you arrange them?
I would arrange students by interest because I feel like if a student is more interested in something else other than what they have, maybe it's best for them to you have that as their subject or what they're learning.
Thank you. And this question is also for Carla. Carla, in your ideal school, how would students be arranged?
In my ideal school, I was like thinking that when they're registering for a school, that like we could ask them like, oh, what is your career goal? Like, what do you want to study if you go to college? What do you want to work for? Or other things like that. And then like have available classes. Like, for example, if a student is in marine biology, we could put them in classes that could help them reach that goal. Like we could start them off with marine biology and we could talk about like how to get there and like separate by interest, because like I said, my school, we have academies and like those academies separate you by your interest. But even though like that is a good idea, a lot of the time students just get placed into them and like they're not really interested in what they're studying. So sometimes I think about it, I'm like, it would be better like if when you start off the school year, you can just like ask them like, what do you want to study, and then place them in the place where they want to study for now. And if they don't have an idea, maybe just put them in a course that introduces them to different areas of study, and once they choose one, they can be placed into those classes.
Oh, sorry. There was a student who was going to answer the question who I realized is not here. Thank you so much, Carla, for talking about that and giving examples from your own high school. So the next question is for Azucena and Carla and Carolyn. Do you have examples of something you're working on or you'd like to be working on right now that speaks to your vision? what you want to see in the future, how schools can be. And let's start with Azucena.
Yes, so right now I am in a group called Youth for Environment Action, which is yeah. And right now what we're planning to do is actually write a newspaper article, and that's with me and like 3 other students since we're in groups. And so I guess having opportunities like that where we just think of ideas that we really want to do and go for it without being limited, I think those would be what I would want more in schools.
Thank you, Azucena. That made me get excited, actually, just listening to you talk about it with the passion that I can feel from you. And Carla.
Like I said, I kind of want a school that revolves around the arts. So right now, my drama club and I were talking about getting more involved with the school. So we were thinking of being able to like get like equipment and then do like rehearsals or plays from home to be able to like still like give entertainment to students sometimes, or just in general like be like talk to more people about the arts, because sometimes I feel like not a lot of people like realize that like we have an art program because our school is kind of small. And so being able to like realize that there is an art program and then have more people get involved, I feel like we could take on bigger projects around the school and then be able to get more attention from it.
Thank you. Thanks, Carla. Love these visions. And Carolyn.
Yes, so right now I'm working on a project to raise student voice and empower them to advocate for themselves, particularly within the local control accountability plan, because I think it's really important that students, as the major stakeholders in the education system, get a say about the budget and other big decisions in their schools. And right now I'm taking that on at a county-wide level. So I'm trying to recruit students to my group who will both find ways to train other students how to best participate in the current systems for student engagement, as well as to reform the systems that they have in place right now.
That is a huge thing to take on, and I'm really excited that students are doing that. And I'm excited to see where that goes this year. Thank you. And we had one more question for Juliana, which was, could you tell us what your ideal school would look like?
Even though it might not be possible, if we went back to school, I would want it to be as normal as possible. That's not what it's looking like, but I would want like sports to get back on track on the times that they were supposed to happen, and football games and stuff like that, dances. I like to be able to communicate with teachers and get one-on-one in person. Like I struggle with math, so I would love to have like an in-person chat about math, like getting more help. And I would like to collaborate with students in class because I feel like that's a really big like thing, and it helps me learn a lot better if I'm talking to people my own age. So yeah, that's what my ideal school would look like.
Thank you for sharing that vision. So at this point, we have about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes left for questions from our audience members. And you can either put them in the chat, or we're a small group, so you could just ask.
Okay, thank you, everyone. This was just a delight to hear you all, what you want the classes to be as you go back to school, especially with having more holistic plans and the essential oils and all that. That was just a delight to hear that that's how you would like. Juliana, you just said that you would like more one-to-one help with math. I'm just wondering, I know you shared overall, what do, how would you like the school to be? I'm just specifically wanting to know, what would you like your math classes to be like when you go back? In this ideal world, like if you could have the fairy tell you whatever you want, what would you like your math class to be like?
I feel like I work best in groups, so I would like to be put in groups
Mhm,
and we can kind of like work together on problems, but we can also have the teacher, like after everybody is done answering the question, she could go over the question or he could go over the question, and really explain into detail after we already went through it.
mhm,
So it's like a trial and error kind of thing. We all like work on it and then she explains the entire problem.
okay,
So
thank you. How about the others? What would you um, like your math classes to be like when you go back?
I don't have a math class, but I have been in advanced maths and pre-calculus and all those classes before. And what I realized is that the reason why I didn't do well is because there wasn't enough time for the teacher to reach all the students, especially since like my school has like 2,000 students and there's less teachers now since there's not enough pay and resources for that. So even in tutorials, we would have only like 2 hours and most of the class would go. So I wouldn't really get the help that I needed. And so most of the time I just had to teach it to myself when I needed help.
Mhm,
And it came to the point where it wasn't worth my time or the teacher's time for me to go to tutorials.
mhm. Thank you, Azucena. Yeah.
I also agree to Azucena. We go to the same school, and like she said, we have like 2,000 students on campus, and I do have similar experiences like that because right now right now this is my fourth year of math, and throughout my all 3 years, every time I would go to a tutorial, it'd be like super like there'd be so many students there getting help, and
Mhm,
sometimes the students would have to help each other because the teacher couldn't even reach them on with time. Like that was what we started doing my sophomore year, my
mhm,
friends and I, because we knew it would get really packed in the classroom. So we would just say, okay, on Thursday we're going to tutorial, and then we're helping each other out. Like we're teaching each other how to do everything. So like even though that did help me, it doesn't be getting it taught by the actual teacher because they actually like they've studied the material and you're just teaching it from like the weeks you learned it from.
mhm.
So having more student teacher interactions would really benefit math classes.
So Carla, you actually took me where my next question was going to be. I know Katie and Gloria, you might have other questions, so I don't want to take up the whole time here, but I just want to go to where you were, Carla, because the tutorial classes, it seems like not enough time, and you don't need tutorials for all your subjects area. Specifically, I'm hearing in mathematics. So what does your real class have to be for you to not need tons of help outside that class?
I feel like for me, like just like I said, like a lot of like more interaction in classes because sometimes students don't like understand the subject because they don't interact with it as much.
Mhm,
Like maybe like every once in a while the teacher just gives us a worksheet and then they ask us to work on it by ourselves.
mhm,
And then when we ask for help, sometimes they're busy helping other people. So then I feel like instead of just having us working on it individually, to be able to work on it as a class all the time, and then like maybe at the end of the week, maybe try
mhm,
working on it by ourselves, but also being able to have like a group of students that we work with well, being able to help us out
mhm.
would really benefit the students in the class.
Thank you. Thank you. This is all very good. So I'm going to hold off. And so I don't know, Katie, Gloria, if you have other questions, I'm going to.
I have to chime into to answer your question because after writing the questions for this, I was talking to my niece about it because she hates math and she's a freshman in high school. And I said, what would like we were going through English and she likes English and history, social sciences, but math, whoo. So she said, well, if I was in charge, I would just bust open those classrooms and turn one into a cooking lab and one into a carpentry like center, and all the math would involve real life projects. So I'd be cooking, I'd be doing carpentry, I'd be working, and even if we can get in, she was saying like real life carpenters or people who work like engineers who work in math and could tell me like what I really need to know if I want to go into engineering. Like what like, do I need to know quadratic equations? And if I do, cool, tell me why, show me how it's applicable. And I thought that was really insightful. And it, yeah.
Yeah, certainly is. So our classes, high school, or any classes have to be more relevant to what they, yeah. So they're not constantly asking for steps. They can figure it out and play with it and make sense out of it.
Yes. Yeah. And just Lemmy did answer in the chat that, where's your answer, Lemmy? Do you want to speak it, Lemmy, or you want me to? Oh, here it is. Okay. You were just saying, do you want to talk, Lemmy, or should I just read it? Okay. You do better with in-person mathematics, and online math is much harder. Yeah. Do you want to talk more about that? Why for you? Why it's harder? You're typing.
It's sometimes harder because of the math programs we use in math. Some of the programs confuse me and make things make math more complicated for me because it's not the way we learned it in class. And yeah, that's why I do better with in-person mathematics instead of online.
That's a great point. And then in the chat, there's quite a Carolyn.
Yeah.
To ask questions in front of the whole class. Yes,
yeah, that's why I think if there were teachers' aides, because I know just having one teacher, they can't really answer every student's question. So maybe if there are just more people to answer their questions, and then also some of those questions get worked out in group collaboration.
So Caroline, I do want to ask you for the question. Is it just intimidation in math classrooms, or in general at your age, kids feel intimidated asking?
I think it seems like it's mostly in math classes because that is a difficult subject for a lot of people. And they feel like even if they do ask questions and the teacher explains it, they have to right away act like they understand it and not take too much time out of the class. Because I think that in math classes especially, they're trying to get a lot of content across kind of quickly and meet all the deadlines and goals.
And in the chat, there's two really important comments. Well, all of them are, but Azusan, I'm noticing yours that you actually you felt like you had to skip AP calculus because you wouldn't have gotten the support you need. And I know that's true. And then Carla too said that this year math, Carla, do you want to talk more about that? Or Azusena?
Yeah, I'm curious, Carla, the new way of teaching doesn't really help you. When you say new way of teaching, what do you mean by that?
Well, like now, like obviously, like I can't be in a classroom and we can't get the in-class lectures we usually do. So what the teachers have been doing right now is that they take videos of notes and like they do explain them like as they're going, but sometimes I get really confused and then like sometimes we have to watch them before class. Like we're supposed to watch them before class, and by the time we get into class, we're supposed to know what they're teaching. And then it's basically the class is just review. And sometimes I don't have time to watch videos before class, or I just because I have so much homework to do, and then I have to deal with right now, like I have to deal with college applications. Everything just gets lost in the mess, and then I have to decide like, is this video more important than my college applications, or is my college application? And then it's just something I like struggle with. So then so then it's hard for me because when I go into class, I'm just lost, and like a lot of the students are too. Like sometimes they just don't know what's going on, and like sometimes it's like my teacher, she does try her best, and she does like recap everything that was in the video, but obviously not in the detail that the video did give us.
Mhm.
So it has been a struggle to me because like I don't really have time to watch videos before class, and then sometimes like I just get really lost in my math class.
So you're seeing new ways when they ask you to watch the video and learn something on your own and then come to class with, that's a new way in your eyes. That's a new way of teaching math. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, because like I like in my classes they'd always like teach it to you in class, and then
Mhm.
they would review in class as well, because it wouldn't just be like go learn it by yourself and then come back.
Mhm.
It'd be let's learn it together, let's work on it together, and then when you're ready, work on it by yourself.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very insightful.
Yeah, very insightful. This is very good. And you know, it's so very interesting because people, and what I'm hearing is math's difficult. And to me, because I work as a math educator, and I know it's not that math is difficult, it's the way we teach. Yeah,
Mhm.
is what makes it difficult. And it's a very traditional methods of worksheets and things, and that's what I'm hearing in the way we teach it. So we're trying to change it so that it's not difficult. Kids can access it quickly. So, you know, because there are ways to do it. It's just the way we need to change the way we teach it. Yeah. So this
Yeah, I
is,
think what
go ahead. Go
what I
ahead.
was going to say, I think what Audrey's niece said, I think is kind of touching on what everyone has shared. That I think if they taught math in a way that's like pragmatic, it would
Mhm.
make a little bit more sense, you know. And I think what Carolyn was saying earlier too about like having it be more student engagement makes sense as well. Like every time I think about like when I was in high school and now, like I remember we would take a test and it was like closed book and you can't use a calculator and all these other things. And all I keep thinking is now that I'm an adult and I have a job, the soft skills are so much like they take me so much further. Like I work in groups and teams, you know, so it's like being able to communicate with people, being able to share information in a way that makes sense to everyone in the group, being able to go online and do research. Like it's pretty much like taking an open book test
Mhm.
with my peers, you know, Audrey being one of them. And if I didn't know how to communicate or I didn't know how to do research, how would we really be able to work on the projects we're working on? So it's very like counterintuitive to what we're actually doing in the schools.
Right, right.
Like there's a huge disconnect between
Mhm.
real life and school.
Yeah. And we're hoping these are really great questions that you ask, Audrey, of these students, like what do you want and your ideas could be. And we're hoping that we go back stronger and better.
Mhm.
Taking all of this, you know, many kids have said empowerment, the real life stuff and all that. And I hope that we create school system that actually meets those criteria that kids are talking about. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Ah, I love talking about math. And you know, I, I, some of you, students, I don't know if you've heard of Joe Bowler's work, but right, Joe Bowler. She's an educator who works at Stanford, and she's trying to bust open mathematics. And right, and starting this year, many schools across the country are going to be offering a new math class called data science.
Mhm.
And it's all about like, because it's all about what you're doing intuitively when you text, when you're on Instagram, when you're on Snapchat. It's about like figuring out when you all follow, like how many viewers you have or how many followers you have, and how you know, just how you think about things. And it's this push to data science is to get more into your mindset and to help you make sense of data. And I'm really excited about that new
She's one of our favorites. We go to every conference when we go to see her. And she's been working with Steve Levitt, who's written this book, Freakonomics. And so they are trying to change. I'm so glad that these people are on this mission to change the math education.
Yeah.
Hopefully those kids who retire in 2085 or are the ones who graduate in 2038 have better experiences with math learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those of you yesterday who said you were interested in becoming teachers, there's a whole new wave coming. It's already started, but
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Celeste, for posting that.
Thanks for sharing that. Super for Economics. I did not know what that was. Is a book? Is
It's
it?
it's like the second part to Freakonomics.
Oh, I would love to read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll put Joe.
Thank you, everyone. This was a delightful session, students. We are so glad you took your time out of your day to come and help us adults, how we can change education.
It's making me think too that she used to run a summer camp for girls specifically. And so I'm going to get all of you this information because I think every single one of you here would they would love you and you would love how math is taught in a different way. So I will make sure and email you all that information, find out if it's happening this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Jobola ends up teaching a lot of those, and she has a team there. And I am so glad that we have people on the right side. And even the new math framework is being written. Joe Bowler is being invited to contribute to that. And this is where, Audrey, you were talking about the data science and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wonderful. So good that you all, I would love to read that book, Celeste. Thank you for sharing that.
And then do we have any more questions? Don't know if Katie and Gloria, if you have any more questions before we take a break and go to our next session. The next session start at 10:40. Okay, well, why don't we take a break, give students an extra couple minutes to take a break. And thank you so much for being here with us. And